Um, I like to say really good first half defensively, second half not so much. But there's a lot of great things on the stat sheet that I'm proud of. Shot 50% from three. That was great. Um, we had DeAndre Williams with 29 and 15, which I challenged him earlier this week to do that, and he answered the bell. Kendrick with 20 points, 5 assists, 1 turnover. That 1 turnover was great. We only had 12 turnovers, which was awesome. And we got to the line, had 23 times. So for me, the first half is where we want to be defensively the entire game, and the second half offensively is where I want to be. If we can just merge those, that would be great.
Hey, Penny, if you had to pick out one, I know it's hard to pick out one. Who had the best game as a Tiger, DeAndre or Mr. Kennedy? Both of them played great.
I'd say DeAndre. Yeah, Keontae shot the ball well. He's been working on that. He was a lot discouraged, very discouraged after the Temple game because he had all those open looks and didn't make them. But he got in the gym and worked like he always does and had a phenomenal game, 16 points in 19 minutes. But DeAndre to have 29 and 15, he carried us the entire day. Both of those are great stats, but I give it to DeAndre because I challenged him to do that, and he came out and did that today.
To follow up on that, you say you challenged him. Like, when was this? Like Monday, Tuesday, and like what prompted it? Because obviously he played okay at Temple, but what sort of prompted you really getting into him this week?
Yeah, it was actually yesterday. Me and the staff met with he and Kendrick, and I feel like 15 and 7 is disrespectful for DeAndre with his talent. I really do. And he came out and played the way that I know that he can play today. Like, obviously those are monster numbers, 29 and 15, but I feel like he can get to 15 every night. And that's something that I want him to focus on.
So I thought you might come in and say something like, that's more like it, sort of thing. Like,
well, if I can merge those halves, I'd say that's more like it.
Well, that's what I was going to say. You're not exactly in that kind of mood. You're kind of left wanting more, it seems, a little.
Well, the way my brain works and how I know this league works is that this league, it thrives off of teams' weaknesses, and we're showing way too many weaknesses. We can't put two halves together, and that's what it's getting later. The games are dwindling down, and you're going to get into a point where you're trying to posture yourself or position yourself to have a first-round bye in the conference tournament. That's what you're playing for. You're playing for conference championship, title, and the AAC championship and the regular season championship, and it's also for seeding. So the more weaknesses that you show, and it keeps happening repeatedly every game, then it starts to become a concern. So I praise them, but I also know that there's caution to what we're doing, that we got to be careful because teams are going to continue to go at us, at our weaknesses, and we just got to keep getting better at those.
How much of Kennedy's three-point shooting is maybe just a result of being in a better rhythm because he's, getting a few more minutes and just is able to be in the flow of the game a little bit more? And, and if you continue to get that from him, can that make three-point shooting like this as a team more of the rule than the exception?
Well, I think that, with me challenging Kendrick and DeAndre to make more plays for the team, because Keontae averages this many minutes. He didn't play more minutes. He actually played a little less tonight. It was just more opportunities, and he took advantage of his opportunities. So that, to me, is what basketball is about. It's taking advantage of your opportunities. If you need more minutes, then that's going from like a 6-minute span like Jonathan Lawson was, 7 minutes, to 25, and then being more effective. So it's about making winning plays the entire game. If you're not making those threes, what else are you doing? And we need him to make shots. And I tell those guys to find Keontae all the time so that gives him an opportunity. Shooters need a rhythm. They don't need one shot every 5-6 minutes. They need to get going. So we're doing a better job of finding him, and he just has to make them.
Hey, Coach, for the next 2 weeks, are you in like survival mode until all your troops get back to try to do enough to win? I know it's don't have to be pretty until you get back healthy, or you just looking at one game at a time?
I'm looking at one game at a time. We understand that we're not at full staff as far as like our team, having our full team, but it's next man up, and these guys are prepared to go out. Obviously, we miss Malcolm, Alo, Jaden, but these guys are prepared to win, and they're capable of winning. They've won 2 tough games, and my mindset is to go 1-0. You can't feel sorry for yourself because if you lose those games, they're not going to say 3 starters are missing. Just like if you win them, they're not going to say 3 starters are missing. So you just got to go and compete and try to be 1-0 every game.
Penny, in the first half there for a little while, their zone was giving you some problems. You're settling for some, probably some tough shots. What did you think your guys figured out on the court? I'm sure you had planned for that zone because they play a lot of zone. But what do you
Yep.
think they figured out as that game wore on, where you got some better looks?
Well, we figured out that we can't just take one pass jump shots. We were prepared to run offense on the zone, but obviously when you get comfortable out there, you're thinking that you can make a shot. You take an open shot and you miss, and that's right down their alley. Dribble penetration, guys being open in the center of that zone right at the free throw line. We started doing that better in the second half and took advantage of it. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's timely pressing, now, not just random or going every time. Obviously, when we have the numbers, we can do more. Right now, we're being calculated on when we do it. And the blessing of it is when we get into it, we get a couple turnovers. Like in the first half, we got into it maybe 5 possessions. I think we got 3 steals out of that. So, we're just not doing it for the entire game.
Coach in the back. You got Cincinnati up next. You've been in the middle of those battles over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Does that still rank as one of the biggest rivalries for this program, or one of the biggest rivalries?
Absolutely. For me, Cincinnati has been a thorn in my side my entire career as a player and as a coach. And we've gotten the best of those guys the last couple of years up there. They're going to be roaring to go. They're going to be ready. They got Landers now, and he's got, this game circled on his calendar. I'm sure they're playing really good basketball. And for me, it doesn't take much when we're going to Cincinnati or Cincinnati come here. It's always going to be a rivalry.
And you mentioned that games are dwindling down. How important is that game at this point in the season?
It's super important. It is important. It's a game that it gets us back to where we need to be, because we dropped one that we had at UCF and we lost one at Tulane. And then we have to win on the road. I think good teams find a way to win on the road. We're finding a way to win now, but good teams win on the road. And we're taking care of home, but now we got to be road warriors as well.
Specifically, back to the defense and the pressing a little bit, specifically that one where it's kind of like the half-court trap and then Lawson getting the passing lane and the dunk. Did you kind of sense a little bit of a spark, or kind of see things in guys' eyes after that in terms of them just kind of coming to life a little bit?
Absolutely. I think that what that press does, it just gets our juices going. It just gets everybody active, where you can rest a lot when you're in the half court, and you kind of get idle sometimes. It's just, to us, all bodies are moving, all bodies are anticipating, all bodies are down in the defensive stands, which is what we want in a half court. We don't want to have to press all the time, but our half court defense kind of gets, lackluster, and we give teams layups, teams offensive rebounds. When we get into the circle trap, it just seems like guys they get more energy.
Coach Anthony, you're approaching a milestone. So can you reflect back on what you traveled from beginning to win one to coming up to the milestone you're approaching?
Yeah, you know what? I haven't even had a chance to really even think about the milestone, but I'm blessed to even be the coach here at Memphis. And from the first game that I came in, I was just excited to be here, and it's still the same thing. I haven't lost that feel of wanting to win for this city and for this university. So my wins are great. I'm such a team player. It wouldn't have happened without all the great players and the great staff. And we just want to keep racking up the wins. So whenever that comes, I'm sure I'll be excited.
Penny, when it comes to Cincinnati, do you tell the players about 1992 and what you went through and those 4 tough defeats? And I mean, do you give them a history lesson? Or
No, I've never even talked about my time against Cincinnati. I always talk about, basically, it's a rivalry that's been here forever. So I haven't even talked
could that
about
not
our
be a
years.
motivator for your team?
Well, the motivation really is the last couple of years since I've been here. It's always been when they had Cumberland and Scott and all those guys. It's been the same way. So they know the importance of it for sure.